Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Northwest Craftsman. One of the tools that I just recently got in my shop and I am absolutely loving is a laser level. Part of the reason I'm loving it is because I'm finding all sorts of places that I can use this that I hadn't even thought of using before, and I wanted to share some of those use cases with you. So the most obvious places that most people think of using a laser level is in hanging pictures and doing shelving, because you want to make sure that both of those are just level because it's both visually pleasing to the eye, and in the case of a shelf you want to make sure that it's level because then everything stays up there and nothing can roll around and everything is nice and stable. But there's a couple of other uses that I have found extremely helpful. Around the shop or when you're building out a new space, one of the things that's pretty common is to run plumbing or to run wiring. Now, when I was setting up my shop, I didn't have a laser level and so I couldn't do this, and so I just kind of eyeballed it all the way through. But if I had a laser level, I would be projecting the line across the surface of the ceiling or across the ceiling like this, and then you basically have on each one of your studs exactly the line that you need to mark. Now, it doesn't necessarily matter in this case if it is perfectly level, but you do get a straight line that goes all the way across your shop. So you set it up on one end, beam it all the way across, and then you got a spot to drill every single line or every single stud all the way through. Another one that I've seen, and this one isn't necessarily used quite as often, but is to drill straighter lines by hand. Now, generally speaking, when you're trying to use a drill by hand, you have a difficult time lining it up in both the up, down, and left or right directions. And so by putting a laser level on or projecting onto your drill or onto your bit, you can keep at least half of it in control, and it makes it easier to take care of either the up, down, or the left, right direction. I personally prefer the up, down, but it really depends on if you're drilling into a wall or drilling into something vertically down. But you can use the laser level to help align and help to keep you straighter, especially if you're working on something that is too large for a drill press and something that really needs to make sure that you get a straight drill. Another one that comes into play when you've got new construction or when you're remodeling is lining up trim across windows and doors. Now, if you're like me, you're a little bit obsessive compulsive about what it's going to look like around the house, and when you take a step back, for me, on that simple version of pictures, I notice when pictures are just barely out of alignment, and it's even worse on doors and windows when you look across the entirety of the room and the trim is not lining up all the way across. So what you can do if you're redoing the trim on any of your windows and doors is to use this laser level, project it across the entire room, and make sure that you've got everything nicely aligned as it's going around the room so that you get nice, crisp, clean lines. Another one moving back out to the shop is when you're setting up all of your workbenches across the shop, especially if you're in a build out phase. One of the most helpful hints that I've gotten for my shop is to try and make sure that all of your workbenches or all of your work surfaces are exactly at the same level, and that means it's just a little bit easier as you're working with things, moving wood from one place to the other. It's all at exactly the same height, except in specialized circumstances where you maybe want to do detailed work a little bit closer to your face. But by and large, you kind of want all your surfaces to be the same height, and a really easy way to do this, especially if you're building in place where your slab is not perfectly level, grab that laser level, beam it off to one of your other surfaces, and then you see exactly how high you need to make it. You measure where your legs are going to go, and then you can cut those to exactly the right length, and you can make everything exactly the same height. This also works if you're trying to create something that's the same height or is level standing in place, especially on uneven surfaces, because you can measure to exactly where you're going to be putting those legs. Now, of course, the downside to this is that it's not universal. You can't move it to a new spot and expect the same results, but when you're building in place, it is awesome to be able to make them exactly level, exactly where you need them. Another application that I have, and I've been using this one a lot in a recent project, is when you're trying to put a uniform pattern of holes or other features on a surface. In this particular project, I needed to put close to 100 holes in this piece of plywood, and I couldn't mark up the surface, so I couldn't just do a grid of pencil lines all the way across the top. So I ended up projecting this laser line across the top and then using my divider to mark out the even spacing that I needed for everything. It was super, super easy, super handy, because I can get that divider lined up right with the very center of the laser and then just mark it all the way across very quickly, very easily. Moving into another example, which is kind of in the house, in the shop, it really depends on what your setup is, but is lining up your chimney to make sure that it is straight vertical. Now, one of the issues that I ran into when I was redoing my chimney is that I wasn't able to get it straight vertical because my wood stove was placed a little bit crooked. And had I had a laser level, I would have been able to beam it straight up and show myself while I was putting the chimney and where it needed to go, so that I got a straight and level chimney pipe. Yet another application is going to be hanging gates and indoors. Now, when you've got a gate and you're outside, you don't necessarily have anything that is framed in nice, and one of the things that you might want to do is make sure that on your gate, the top is level all the way across the surface. And as long as you've built your gate square, you don't really need to worry about the leading edge, but if you're trying to get that top edge to be level, well, you just put your laser level on it, even with where your hinge is on the other side, and then as you're adjusting your hinges, you can see when it hits level, rather than needing to throw your bubble level across the surface. And then I'm quickly going to breeze over a whole bunch of other ones just to give you guys a flavor for all the different things that you can do. I just created a list right here. So you've got prepping a foundation site. That's where you literally set the laser up and then you go through and measure at all the different points to make sure that before you pour a slab, everything is at exactly the same height, because that's kind of difficult to do. Measuring matching countertop heights across the bathrooms. That's just like in the shop, except in the bathroom you're trying to match the countertop heights. Ensuring you've got the right plumbing drop all the way across your plumbing line. So on a lot of plumbing lines, you need to drop a specific height over a specific distance. And one of the things that you can do with this is you can get it level, lock it in place, and then offset it by a specific amount and just measure it from start to finish how much your drop is. And then across that entire run, you can make sure that your pipes line up with that run and you get exactly the drop that you need. Also, if you're looking to hang OSB plywood drywall straight, you can beam this one up and you can make sure that everything, especially on that first panel, when you're trying to put that first panel up and you don't really have anything to datum it against, you can use both the horizontal and the vertical lines, make sure that everything gets aligned properly and it's nice and square. Same thing with tile. If you're starting tile and you don't have a good wall to start off of, or you're trying to start in the center so you can get a pattern, you can use this to project it out so that it meets where it's supposed to, and you've got those guidelines before you start. Another really cool application that I saw was when you're doing building outside, so like in a pole barn, you're going to get your poles into the ground, or you're going to get your poles mounted into the concrete, but now what you need to do is run cross members between all of them, and they need to be at the same height and they need to be level so that when you build everything else out, it is square. And one of the things that I saw is if you put your laser level right in the middle of the pole barn, you can basically have that line on all of the different poles that are coming up, so that when you're trying to hang those boards, you just line it up, you put the drills in, and then as a one-man operation or as a two-man operation, you can do it. And there's not a lot of futzing around with a bubble level to try and get things right. You literally just put it up, you line it up with a line, screw it in, and boom, you're level and ready to go. So again, I went through a whole bunch of different places that you can be using a laser level around your shop, around your house, around your property. If you're building, not building, whatever you're doing, there are places that you can use a laser level, and I think it's a really useful tool to have around the shop. And honestly, it's just up to your imagination. Now, as a quick disclaimer, Dovo did send me this laser level free of charge so that I could do a review on it, but I was already looking to get a laser level to have around my shop because I'm doing more construction projects and I'm doing more things that require me to have a laser level, and I was already looking at their model for the laser level. So full disclaimer, they did send it to me for free in exchange for making this video. I did my unboxing video previously, which went through, unboxed it, tested it to make sure that all their accuracy claims were accurate and to look at the pros and cons and everything to do with it. So if you haven't seen that video, go check it out. The couple of different things to highlight about this laser level are that they do have a 5-year warranty. So if you have anything that goes wrong with it, they have a 5-year warranty that you can send it back to them. Of course, I can't necessarily test that because that requires me to I don't even know, just exercise their warranty, break the tool and send it back. It doesn't really make sense to try and exercise the warranty, but they do have a stated 5-year warranty. But then also the brightness and accuracy. Again, I tested all of that in that first video and it all checks out. But I say it is bright. For indoor use, it is perfect. For outdoor use, it does start to get not quite bright enough, but it does have a pulse mode on it, and there's specific receivers. Dovo, I don't think, makes one, but there are specific receivers that look for that specific pulsing signal. I think it's at 10,000 hertz or something like that. And then what that allows you to do is across property or up to like 250 or 300 feet, something like that, it allows you to receive that laser level signal, and it will tell you if it's high or low, so that you can measure it off at a distance. So I found it to be perfect, especially for indoor applications or for light outdoor applications where you're not needing to go a large distance away. You can still see that. So for everything I'm trying to do, it's perfect. Also, if you guys are interested in getting one for yourself, I have a link down in the description along with a 15% off coupon that Dovo sent to me. Go ahead and check that out. But anyways, thank you guys for joining me today. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave those down in the comment section down below. If you have projects that you have used a laser for, that you have found it really helpful, go ahead and leave that in the description as well, or in the comment section as well. And thank you guys for joining me. I really appreciate it. Have a good one. Talk to you later.